All right, it's Friday, and I can't find my pen. So, again, we get a lot of questions about the nutrition that we use, and there's been some studies done recently that have sort of transformed our treatment, and the results that we're seeing from this nutrient that we're using now has been amazing. So I'm going to do a little PowerPoint about the studies and what it means for you if you are suffering with back pain. So it's the one must-have supplement. There's a lot of supplements that are very good for the back. This is one that's new and it's changing back pain treatment for us. And we treat severe back pain. Thousands, 26,000 patients. We treat a lot of patients, so we see a lot. And this is the one nutrient that is a must-have. We are the Illinois Back Institute. This is my disclaimer. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Okay? So be aware of that. Pretty straightforward. The question is, what causes chronic back pain to not get better? And they did a study and they figured out one of the problems. There's many problems, but there's really one that they identified with this study, and then there's a solution for it. That's the key. So, typical spine, 24 vertebrae. Between the head and the hips, the vertebrae are the bones. In between each bone, there is a disc. Disc allows for motion. It's the motion very often that perpetuates the problem or creates the problem. So you've seen this before. 24 vertebrae. In between each vertebrae there's a disc. Inside the spine is the spinal cord. Here's the key. Progressive load on the disc as a result of everyday activities, bending, lifting, twisting, getting in and out of a chair, getting out of bed, getting off the toilet. People have problems with that all the time. Washing dishes, all the things that we do throughout the day and picking up things very often will add stress to the disc. So the disc is a lot like a jelly donut, I don't know my pointer, in the sense that the outside of the disc there's a thick material, inside the disc there's a jelly, and through progressive loads the jelly will start to move. As it starts to move, it'll start to force out the outer portion of the annulus. And the outer portion of the annulus will start to tear. And as it tears, what happens is the nucleus starts to push out. You develop a bulging disc, you develop a herniated disc, sometimes you develop an extruded disc. And it's in the disc that you have the problem that causes chronic back pain. And what they have found is there are certain biomarkers, meaning there's markers in your blood that indicate there's a higher level of inflammation. And they have found that with the disc, as it tears, that tear will release C-reactive protein, interleukin 6, and PGE2. And it's the combination of the three inflammatory biomarkers that ultimately indicate there's a problem, but also develop and cause some of the back pain. Prostaglandin E2, PGE2, is very often the one biomarker, chemical inflammatory process that creates the pain. So what they did is they evaluated these, and the question was, is there an association between the inflammatory biomarker and the patients that aren't getting better? Okay, there's two types of back pain. There's acute back pain where it gets better, and then there's an injury that leads to a back pain that doesn't get better. So the question is always, what is the variable, possibly, that is causing the back pain to not get better? So what they did is they evaluated back pain patients for a year. And these back pain patients that evaluated for a year, they looked at what was going on with the inflammatory biomarkers. the 3 biomarkers that we talked about. They said, what's happening with the biomarkers over time? Again, when we look at the evidence, what does the evidence say? We go to PubMed and we look for the research, because that is where you find the truth in the research. Again, people have opinions, okay? But the research tells you what happens in certain situations. So what they did is they evaluated these patients after 1 year, and they said, what has a bigger effect? Is it a degenerated disc, or is it the level of pain, or is it the level of Oswestry Disability Index, or modic change to the bone? What was the variable? And what they found was patients that had a high level of interleukin 6 had back pain that didn't go away. More so than if the disc was degenerated or the level of pain. What they found was this biomarker, inflammatory biomarker, meaning the indicator of a certain type of inflammation, very often was the key predictor to whether or not your back pain goes away. So if you have high levels of interleukin 6, IL-6, it's a cytokine from an inflammatory process. If you have high levels of interleukin 6, very often you're going to have back pain that does not go away. Very important. So, in conclusion, again, the high levels of interleukin 6 were more important variables for an indicator that the back pain was not going to go away than the degenerated disc and the modic end plate. We've talked about the degenerated disc, but the question really becomes why? Why is that a problem? Why is it not getting better? And here's what we know. The disc, when it has a tear, and it doesn't have to be a tear this big, it can be a micro tear, a fissure. When you have a tear and you move on the tear, so you have motion, you aggravate the tear. And it's kind of like if you were to cut your hand with a knife and we were to sew it back up, and then all day long you were doing this with your hand. Well, guess what? It's not going to heal. And it's going to become more inflamed. You're going to get more inflammation in the hand, and it'll never heal. Same thing with the disc. If you continue to move in ways that aggravate the tear, and there's very specific ways to move that are beneficial, and there's very specific ways to move that'll make it worse. So if you continue to aggravate this tear, you're going to increase the biomarkers of inflammation. PGE2, the C-reactive protein, and the interleukin 6. So there was 2 studies, technically 3 studies, and I'll talk more in depth on these studies in the future. But these 3 studies, they evaluated SPMs. It's the product that we sell to decrease the inflammatory process. We've talked a little bit about this before, but the studies that are being done are pretty remarkable, and the benefit that our patients are seeing is also remarkable. And recently I started taking that, even though I don't have back pain. I started taking it, and the changes are pretty amazing, and there's a very, very specific reason. Because what they found was this nutrient, this supplement, had the ability to decrease C-reactive protein, one of the biomarkers of inflammation, lower the prostaglandin E2, which is the one that really causes the most pain, and lower the IL-6, the interleukin 6. So it had the ability to lower these 3 inflammatory biomarkers. But also what happened was the back pain, and again, these patients weren't getting any treatment for their back. They were only taking the supplement. Study number 1, their back pain went from a 7 to a 3. If you have back pain, you know there's a number. What's your number? 10 is like severe. 10 is impossible. Okay? 7's pretty high. When I had my back pain was an 8. It went from a 7 to a 3. Study number 2, the pain went from a 7 to a 2. They weren't doing any treatment. But here's the key. What we have found is if you can limit the motion and avoid the activities that make it worse, and we have our tips. The tips are designed to do that. People look at the tips and say, oh, I think I already know that. Well, do you know it or do you do it? Because the tips, you have to do them. They're not hard. And you can get them into your program. So what's the goal? The goal is to lower your IL-6. Really, your goal is to lower your C-reactive protein, your prostaglandin E2, and your interleukin 6. Those are the biomarkers of the disc problem. You lower those, you start to feel better. The supplement that we sell is designed to do that. So I have a link on this page where you can go there and take a look at that information. But also, they have found that certain foods and certain habits, getting enough sleep, lowering your stress levels, all will decrease your interleukin 6. And there are a host of multiple chronic problems, diseases that have biomarkers of interleukin 6 that are too high. And what they have found is if you can decrease that biomarker, decrease the interleukin 6, you can start to get those conditions better. Okay, there's some science on that. I'll do the studies on that next time. Okay, again, we go to pubmed.gov. That's where the truth is. That's where you find the truth. We've been treating herniated discs for a long time. This is a breakthrough. This is a breakthrough. It doesn't necessarily heal the disc, but allows you to feel better, so then you can do the exercises to make it better. That's the key to what we do. We solve the problem of the disc. My goal is to eliminate back pain from the planet. We're close. With some help from you, we can do it. If you want the page that we have these supplements on, you can get access to our anti-inflammatory diet. You don't have to completely change your diet, but it's important to know which foods decrease your inflammation and which foods increase your inflammation. We've talked about that. So I have 3 reports that you can access as well. We also have the tips on that page, so you can print them out. What's the key? Decrease the motion, decrease the inflammation, get your life back. We have the ability to solve these problems. I want you to like this video. I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I want you to share this information, and if you have any comments, you can comment. I've been super busy in some of the clinics, so I haven't responded to as many comments, but I'm back in action. So again, the link is totalbackpainrelief.com/SPM active. So go to that page, take a look at it. I'll put a link in the description, and I'll put a link in the video. It'll be probably like right here, and then I will put a link in the comment section. If you have back pain, you don't need to live with it. I know that some people that respond to this don't live in the United States. This is available in North America and in Europe, but we still have to get access to have it distributed through Europe. Just saying. Hopefully we can have access to distribute it throughout the whole world, but every country is a little bit different as far as what they allow in. So again, go there and you'll have access to the product and some of the tips, and then the anti-inflammatory diet. So check it out, get your life back. You don't have to completely change your diet, but sometimes it's 1 or 2 things that you don't need anymore. You can eliminate those. Okay? You don't have to eliminate everything. Start to find the foods that make you feel good. And the one thing about this product, it's interesting. It's like planting a seed. You plant the seed, you start to feel better. And the funny thing is, when you start to feel better, you're like, I don't want to go back to the way I felt. I want to continue to feel good. So you modify some of the foods you eat, and you start to get more exercise, and you start to sleep better. It's a cycle. Once you start, the key is not to stop. And what they've also found is IL-6, interleukin 6. It's one of the reasons people age prematurely. So if you're looking to live longer, which we all are, as long as you feel good, start to eliminate what causes the interleukin 6. Certain foods, stress, infection, your gut biome, how healthy it is. But I'm going to do more videos about this. This has come up where people want more of this information. So we're gonna give you the information you need. I may do a video tomorrow about one of the studies because it really was dramatic. So that's it. Friday night, I'm out. Gotta go. Take care. Be careful.